Okay, so we're going to call this meeting to order. And for the record, this meeting is being held remotely as an alternate means of public access pursuant to an order issued by the Governor of Massachusetts dated March 12, 2020, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You are hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Scituate in accordance with the open meeting law. So I guess I should go to a roll call. So Richard Harding.
Richard Harding is here at home.
Doug Alberg is not on. Penny Scott Pipes.
Here, at home.
Jen Foley.
Here at home.
Andrew Gallagher.
Here at home.
And Brendan Collins. Okay. All right.
You didn't announce yourself.
And Frank Snow here at Town Hall with Amy and Jen. So this meeting's going to have a question and answer session following each public hearing, and abutters or other interested parties will have the ability to raise a hand and keep the total to less than 3 minutes. We're just trying our best to work through this, and 3 minutes should be enough time for anyone to express their concerns. Did anybody look at the copies of the agenda? Is there any additions or changes?
I didn't see any.
Not that I'm aware of.
So the only thing is, like, maybe before we're done, I'll just make an announcement for the Muncie Maxwell property.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Okay, I'll make a motion to accept the agenda as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Oh,
That was Rich for a second.
yeah, do we have to do roll call on this too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Richard Harding, aye.
Penny Scott Pipes, aye.
Jenny
Jen.
and Nick.
Jen Foley, aye.
Andrew?
Andy Gallagher, aye.
Frank Snow, yes. Okay. So I guess we can start right in. Okay, so this is 100 Edward Foster Road on April 27, 2020 at the 5:15 meeting at Town Hall. Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetland hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of William Shields to raise an existing single-family dwelling and replace with lawn and privacy landscaping at a location of 100 Edward Foster Road, Scituate. About and other interested parties are invited to attend. And I'm going to let Amy speak to this first rather than members, right? You want to speak to 100?
Well, yeah, well, actually, we could go to Morse, and I mean, because he did have a notice of intent for a requested raise rebuild, but clearly the work is actually started. But I still think we could turn it over to Greg to present the project, and then we can talk about how we want to proceed.
Okay. Greg, are you there?
Yep, I will go ahead. For the record, Gregory Morse, registered engineer, Morse Engineering. This property is located at 100 Edward Foster Road. It's the corner lot of Edward Foster Road and Crescent Ave. My client here is William Shields Family Realty Trust, which owns this property, and then they also own the abutting lot at 98 Crescent. That will be the subject of a separate notice of intent, which is second on your agenda tonight. The proposal and what this notice of intent was for, this notice of intent was to raise the dwelling at 100 Edward Foster Road, to take it down and replace it with a lawn. It was not a raise and reconstruct project. At 100 Edward Foster Road, there was an existing house with an existing driveway. We had filed this application to take down the house and replace it with a lawn. and then to install a new hedge. The new hedge and landscape would be along Crescent Ave and along Edward Foster Road. Where the house sits, we would be replacing that with lawn surface. You'll see on the plan there's proposed grading, which essentially just fills in what was there for a foundation and mimics the topography that's on the remainder of the lot. The wetland resource areas that we're working with here, off-site to the west is a very well-defined coastal bank, which is a man-made stone revetment. There's a 50-foot buffer in red and a 100-foot buffer in green. All of the work is outside of the 100-foot buffer zone to that revetment. But the remainder of the lot where the hedge is proposed and where the house raising is proposed is in the FEMA floodplain at elevation 15. Again, we're not changing the topography of the lot. We're bringing it in level with the adjacent ground. We had filed this several months ago. I believe it was back in late February, early March sometime. Since that time, my client did apply to the building department, and the building department issued a permit to demolish the house, which he has done. He has demolished the house at this point. The erosion controls that we had proposed on this plan are all installed out at the site right now. I was unaware that the house was being demolished when it happened. I think it happened maybe a month ago at this point. But anyways, he would like to finish the project by putting down loam and seed over the disturbed area and finishing the landscaping and hedgerow. I'll turn it over to you.
Amy, do you want to speak?
Well, yeah, so, I mean, sometime in April, the general contractor tore the house down. I mean, there is erosion control that was put up, but I think it's just a case of proceeding before the permit hearing process was started. So,
Was it a local contractor?
No, it wasn't,
Yeah,
actually.
there's your problem.
It's a contractor from Norwell.
Oh, it is. See, I wonder if that changed, because I thought that the guy that I talked to was somebody from Metro Boston. So I guess I don't know exactly who was responsible for making the call, but it was clear that this process needed to happen. I mean, I spoke to them on the phone. You know what I mean? They were informed that they needed a notice of intent, and they had one in front of us. So I was a little bit shocked when I drove by and saw it. As far as jurisdiction goes, Greg pointed out that it's a buffer zone, coastal bank, so coastal resource area, and flood zone project. On this project, clearly the work is done. I would like to try to see if we can find a way to move this project forward, even if we roll in some kind of an enforcement, penalty type situation for the work before. I guess that's up to you guys to discuss. The site did appear relatively stable. They have not actually, they did take it down, and to the extent there was a basement, that hole has been filled in, but otherwise the site is fairly stable. It has not been planted out, but there is partial erosion control down. The DEP file sign is not up. Clearly the orders aren't recorded, which would be things that we'd be looking for before work happened. And I don't know. That's what I have to say on this one.
So, Richard, I'm going to just go by the order that I have here on the roll call.
Sure. So I guess the first question I would have is, if this had gone under correct procedure, would this have been something that would have been any issue at all in your mind?
Yeah.
Then
If this had gone through, I think that you would approve this. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
this is an approvable
Oh, yeah.
project, and I think they would have definitely, closed and received orders with
Right.
nothing particular about it, other than, there is a question about their delineation of the coastal bank. Because as we know from the coastal manual, it's not top of revetment, but we don't have to agree to that as part of this hearing. We could just make a notation that that was not,
Then I think,
not
I
agreed
think,
to, let's just say that.
I'm sorry. So I guess my only point would be, I don't have any objections to this, but I think at some point, something ought to be done in terms of enforcement. It may or may not be major, but I think something has to be done because this isn't the way we should do it, even understanding these difficult circumstances. But I have no problem with the project itself.
Kenny?
Okay, this is an interesting project. They kind of did the same thing across the street a few years back, Frank. I think you'd remember it, except it was the steep hill. They bought the second piece of property so nobody would build. And the only problem that we ever had there was until everything stabilized and grew in. Remember, we had the wash off coming down Edward Foster. This one, I don't think there'll be any problems like that, especially if they put the hedging in and so forth. But yeah, I think it's a great idea. Get the lawn back. That's going to absorb more than a house being on the property. And the only thing, when sewerage came out there, were all the septic systems filled in? Greg, do you know, or are they still just out there?
So this was an original cesspool, which was
Yeah, it was.
abandoned. The house, before it came down, was connected to sewer. So there is a sewer stub at this property.
Oh, okay, but what I'm asking, is there going to in the future be a problem that there's an abandoned cesspool out there, or was that already filled in when the sewerage came?
That was filled in when the sewerage came.
Okay, that would be my only concern, but I don't have a problem with it, except like Richard said, that somebody needs a little slap on the hand. You just don't go willy-nilly. I don't care what the building department says. You do have to go through the right boards. So, okay,
Okay.
I'm done.
Jen?
Yeah, I don't think I have anything new to add, but I would echo Rich's sentiments.
Okay, thank you. Andy?
Nope, nothing to add. I think I agree with what's been said.
Okay. Do we, give me 1 second. Do we have anybody on the, any calls in? Could they raise a hand? Okay. So I think, Greg, as Amy put out, it's disappointing that they chose to move forward. They did get a permit from the building department, and I'm not sure what the circumstances were. I had seen that the house was sort of disconnected and boarded up with caution tape and whatever. So the building department must have had reason to want to do that. But they did have a file before us, and to move forward is concerning when it comes to the next project, that your client is going to acknowledge that the Conservation Commission has jurisdiction in this area, and that they have to follow those rules. And I would hope that we definitely should have a pre-construction when we move to the next hearing. But I think with this one, maybe we should have a combination one with Amy and the contractor, maybe even someone from your office, so that everyone understands what's going to be done there. There's sort of a depressed area that's there, and you're talking about loam and seed. How much material are they proposing to bring in? Do you know?
It's just to fill in where the existing foundation was and reestablish grass there. We're not changing the depressed area on the lot at all.
So that basin or bowl will remain?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
So just for the house area itself, you're probably talking between 20 and 40 yards of topsoil.
Okay. Because it has some storage there for overwash and whatnot. So I don't think that should be altered very much, or anything. And then to Amy's point, the delineation of the coastal bank, as we move towards this project or the next one, for the significance of these projects, determine the exact location of the coastal bank probably isn't necessary, but we don't want to accept that as a line or a delineation for future projects. If there's something more significant to happen here, we'd reserve the right to really examine the coastal bank.
Have somebody go out for us, yeah.
So I don't know, can we make that part of the NOI when
The orders, yes.
part of our orders?
That we didn't accept.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can put a special condition.
Amy, I'm not sure you stepped out for a minute, but I think we should have like a pre-construction for both this and if we move to the other project as well, just so that everybody is clear on what needs to be done for these sites.
Sure, that's one of our standard conditions.
Yeah.
For a pre-con, and also that the engineer certified the limit of work and the erosion control. So, I mean, there's partial erosion control is in, but I don't think it quite appears as it is on the plan. So, yeah, I mean, we need to get it in order ASAP, and the DEP file signs should be up. But then there also brings up the comment about appeal periods, and they're clearly working within their own risk because they've already started. But I mean, on the other project, it is subject to the normal 10-day DEP appeal. And then during this time of the emergency, the state has an additional 45 days. But this is spelled out in our cover letter on the steps that we'd like to see taken as far as that goes. So.
Greg, did they remove the driveway?
No, the driveway still. Actually, Bitcoin driveway.
It said that it's going to stay.
Yeah, it was the intent for it to stay. I saw cars parked in there when I drove by earlier today. It didn't look like it was asphalt from my recollection.
No, I have pictures actually that Jen just had up. It's like a gravel drive right along the left side.
Okay.
Of Edward Foster.
Okay.
So you can.
All right.
I think they probably have, plans for it to make it nicer, I would think. But that would be their access from the road.
Yes, the access is over the existing driveway cut, but I do have it labeled as asphalt, and
Oh, there it is.
there it is.
That's looking up Edward Foster. Oh, yeah, the picture on the right is the drive that I was talking about,
There we
right?
go.
Yeah.
So I think that existing conditions should be clearly marked out. Should someone come back in and apply for something on this site, want to be clear whether that was asphalt or gravel to start with.
Doesn't look like
Okay, so I guess the question is, do we want to close this make a motion to close, make a motion to issue, get some orders together, and then you need to give me or us instructions on whether or not, if there's anything else you want us to do besides issue this order to get this site going.
I don't have a problem closing it, but that's up to.
No. Well, I'll
Somebody
make a
wanna make a
motion and
motion?
we'll see where it goes. I make a motion to close an issue on 100 Edward Foster.
And in case anybody's wondering, that was Penny.
That's the big mouth, yeah.
Well, so if we're going to do that, we want to say that with conditions as noted or discussed so that we
With the
can,
conditions as noted and discussed at this hearing.
It's Richard, I'll second it.
Thank you, Richard.
okay, so pre-con meeting, existing conditions are gravel for driveway.
Yeah.
And then, is that it?
More erosion control, you said.
Oh, well, so install erosion controls as depicted on plan.
Yeah.
And Greg gave us a quantity of fill to be added. He said it was a maximum of 40 yards.
Cards.
Okay.
And then the other thing I would want added someplace, but this may not be the place, is some sort of enforcement for doing it this way.
Oh, yeah.
Well, so that would be a ticket. I mean, we could send him a ticket, and basically once, if they need to pay the ticket, and then they can go forward with other permits through the town.
Send them a ticket.
That'd be fine with me.
Okay, so
I guess the only thing I'd ask about that is maybe just touch base with Bob and find out if there was a compelling reason for him to issue that. Like I say, I did notice that the house had been disconnected from utilities. They had a bunch of caution tape and boarded up. So maybe they felt at some point it was unsafe or something like that. I'm not condoning this, but I'd like to know what the story is.
well, I did touch base with him, and I think it was one that he got certain sign-offs, but he didn't get our sign-off. But he knew. I think there was just a lot going on, and I don't know what happened. He put it in a
This isn't the
category of
first
it
time this has
it
happened.
shouldn't have been issued. And the thing is that the GC knew. I just think that they were anxious to have it taken down, and they had a general contractor lined up, and then COVID hit, and it kind of halted everything. So apparently they were willing to risk it. So
Okay.
I don't know. We could get a statement from the owner before we make an action if you want. Maybe there is a story that we don't know. Greg, do you think there's a story we don't know?
I know the owner was out of town. He was out of state over the winter. He just got back. This wasn't an after the fact filing. I advised that the contractor file this before they did any work. And we did file this before they did any work. But like you said, they charged forward anyways. So, yeah, I mean, if a ticket's in order, a ticket's in order.
I mean, they need to know.
Okay. All right.
And that's the way I feel too. I'm not saying that there has to be a hugely terrible fine or anything like that, but I think the point has to be made.
Okay.
That you did wrong.
So the fine is part of your, you could include that, Amy, and then also the noting that we're not accepting any delineation
Oh, yeah, of the coastal bank. Okay.
or other resource area without really confirming that. We're going to accept it for this project, but
Well, and I think it's also important for us to establish a date by which they come into compliance.
okay.
You know, meaning like you need to get your DEP sign up, you need to get the rest of the erosion controls in.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Right. And maybe that would be, I don't know, I'll have to think about wording, but what do you think, Jen?
It should be quickly, Amy. It shouldn't be,
Yeah, no, right
they were
away,
in
but
such a rush. We'll get the rest of the stuff up.
yes.
Okay. You want to do the roll call vote? Because we got a second on the motion.
Is that what you'd like?
Yeah, Richard.
Okay.
Yay, Richard, yay.
Penny Scott Pipes, yay.
Jen Foley, yay.
Andy Gallagher, yes.
Frank Snow, yes. Thank you, Penny.
You're very welcome, sir. Now we move to the fun one.
On April 27, 2020 at 5:30 p.m. the Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of William Shields to build an addition at a dwelling located at 98 Crescent Ave, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend.
Mr. Morse is up.
This is the property directly adjacent to 100 Edward Foster Road. This is the house on the right. 98 Crescent Ave, owned by the applicant William Shields. This property here is located, again, in proximity to that top of Coastal Bank. In this case here, I wanted to point out, the Coastal Bank here is man-made. It is a stone revetment. And the top of Coastal Bank is the top of that revetment at this case. The Conservation Commission did review that when this house was built. This house was built in 2008. and there have been no changes to that revetment since that time. Off of that revetment, there is a 50-foot buffer zone, which is the line in red, and a 100-foot buffer zone, which is the line in green. A portion of the site where the house is and where the work is proposed is zone X. The lower portion of the lot is a zone AE at elevation 15. What our proposal is our proposal is to add an addition along the left-hand side. On the left-hand side is a bump out. The bump out is a garage extension that's approximately 6 feet off of the existing house. And then across the back of the house, there's an existing covered deck. The proposal is to convert that deck into a full porch with a second floor balcony above it. And then off of that covered deck would be construction of a new open deck. That new open deck is depicted on the plan with a set of stairs that go down into the yard area. That new deck area, it's over existing lawn surface. All of the work is outside of the 50-foot buffer zone. And we have erosion controls around the limit of work. I turn it over to you.
Penny? I'm sorry, Richard?
It's all right. Let Penny go first. I'd rather hold off for a little bit.
Well, I really don't really have a issue with anything out of the house is right there in the 100. No, I'm happy at the moment unless somebody else sees something I'm not seeing. As long as there's lots of erosion control. Go ahead, Richard.
Oh, I'll wait. I'll wait a while.
Jen?
Nothing.
Yeah, I was definitely listening to you, Greg, but I couldn't quite follow. Is there new ground being disturbed for the front deck and stairs?
So the new ground that gets disturbed, and I want to add, no work has begun on this lot. So the new ground that gets disturbed is immediately to the left of the existing house. You'll see that there's a bump out proposed. That bump out is over the existing driveway in an existing retaining wall. Okay, so that's already disturbed area. Off the back of the house, we have a new proposed deck with a set of stairs that go off the back. That's what that rectangle is off the back there. So that's a new disturbance, but that's existing lawn area.
And the one on the other side is out of the 100, so that's good.
Right. I'm just looking inside the 100.
Yeah.
No, I got it.
So just the deck on the back is new area, and that's existing lawn.
Is that on the ground or is there going to be some pilings?
So it would be a deck on sonotubes.
Okay, thank you. No, I don't.
Okay. Andy?
No additional question.
Okay. And Richard, are you?
Richard's good now. I got it. Now I figured it out finally.
Okay. Amy?
Right, so my comments are pretty consistent with the comments for 100 Edward Foster Road.
Yeah.
With respect to the coastal bank delineation. So let's say if we want to close this tonight, we not accept the coastal bank delineation and then put a condition in that which I mean, it's kind of a little bit redundant anyways, but that the project must comply with state building code for work in flood zone. But otherwise, I don't see particular reason why you can't close this one.
Amy, could I just ask a question of you?
Of course.
Yes, I do remember when this house was done, and Greg is right that we accepted the coastal bank back when this house was built. And that, well, it was 12 years ago, I think. 2008, Greg?
Yes, 2008.
Yeah.
Right, so that was 2008, and since then, CZM has come out with their
Coastal Bank could have changed.
their policy for Coastal Bank was developed in 92, and I don't think that this, I mean, they should depict the delineation of the bank per DEP policy 92-1 on the plan in order to have it be accepted. But if you recall, the CZM coastal guidance document says directly that the top of revetment is never to be used as top of coastal bank. So it's to be determined per the policy 92-1. So that's all.
Okay, but it really doesn't affect this project, right?
Well, I mean, no, not with, I don't think so, just in the fact that they're taking existing lawn and, you know, they're bumping out an addition and improving it, but sonnet tubes, I mean, I think that it's something that you can approve.
Yeah, it's
Without
a small
having to-
deck. It isn't a big addition. All right, that's all. I was just.
But on the other hand, though, Penn, if they were to come in with a raised rebuild, you might, and they wanted to push it closer to the seawall,
Oh yeah, well then that's a
you might
different
want
story.
to, at that point, make sure that you've got the coastal bank correct. Although
Okay.
at that point, they're still going to be able to build in the footprint that they're in now. So,
Sure.
I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. No, that's okay. I was just curious.
So
I understand it. We just want to note that the coastal bank may be reviewed in the future.
If another
Yeah.
addition came along, yeah. All right.
So-
That,
And Greg may be all correct on that, but
yes.
oftentimes when we're in an area like this, we have someone take a look at that. I don't
Yeah.
think it's necessary.
No, for this project, no, I agree.
But what can happen when you do an NOI and you accept all the information on the plan, and then someone comes back with another project, it makes it harder to review that. And so that's why we're noting it.
Okay.
I don't see anything else. We don't have any architectural drawings for that deck, do we, Greg? I don't remember seeing any.
No.
So it's basically on sonotube.
Yes.
Okay.
Is there any phone calls, Frank?
I'm just taking a minute and looking at the
Yeah.
plan, Penny.
Okay.
And the
Oh, I'm sorry.
foundation for the garage and whatnot is a poured concrete.
Yes, it is.
All right, anybody in the audience want to speak to this? Put the hand up. Okay. I would take a motion to close this if you are
I make a
inclined.
motion to close.
And are we going to issue orders with this the same way? Okay.
And orders?
Yeah, make a motion like you did at the last one.
I make a motion that we close and issue. Somebody second, please.
With the discuss as per the discussion.
As per discussion.
I second the motion.
Okay, that was Jen Foley seconding. So I'll take a roll call vote on this one.
Richard says yes.
Penny Scott says yes.
Jen Foley says yes.
Andy Gallagher, yes.
Frank Snow, yes.
Okay, very good.
All right. So we're on to 19 Buttonwood Lane.
Yes.
On
Subject.
April 27, 2020 at 5:25, the Town Hall Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Richard McQuaid to upgrade a septic system at a dwelling located at 19 Buttonwood Lane, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend.
50. Between the 50 and the 100. Okay.
And this is Greg.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're got him up yet.
Yeah.
Ready?
We're
We can
ready,
hear 'em.
Greg.
Okay. So Gregory Morse, registered engineer representing the property owner, Richard McQuaid. This is a septic system repair project located at 19 Buttonwood Lane. The property has frontage on Buttonwood Lane to the west, and then it also has frontage on Bayberry Road. Buttonwood to the east, Bayberry to the west. At the end of Bayberry Road, there's a salt marsh. The salt marsh was delineated by John Zimmer, and the buffer zones to that salt marsh, which are on the plan in red and in green, extend onto the subject property. The majority of the property is also within land subject to coastal storm flowage, a Fema Zone AE at elevation 15. The property has a house on it right now that failed a Title V septic inspection. It had a cesspool located on the Bayberry Road side of the house. What our proposal is to install a new septic system, Title V compliant, and it's an advanced treatment type of septic system. This is a hoot treatment plant associated with a drip disposal leaching system. The Board of Health has reviewed it and approved it. The tanks in a portion of the leaching field are located inside of the 100-foot buffer zone, but all of the work is outside of the 50-foot buffer zone. Where all the work is proposed is currently lawn and landscaped area, and it would go back as such. Turn it over to you.
Muted. Richard?
I'm assuming that really is the only place you could put it. Am I correct, Greg?
Yes, that's the best place on this property for it.
No other questions?
Penny?
I don't have a problem with the septic system. I have a problem with that shed. The shed's in the
That's
50-foot
not part of the deal.
buffer and water protection district. Watershed protection district. I think it should be moved if they're going to be doing work out there. That's my only comment.
What's a buffer?
The buffer. Buffer. Are you from Boston?
Okay.
You're a native. I'm from Hingham
All right.
originally.
Sorry I started that. Jen, this is your neck of the woods. What would you like to comment on?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with Richard. Like, it would be cool if there was another spot for it, but it really doesn't look like there is. Is there any history of precedence for getting sheds moved, Amy or Frank?
Well, we can put it in the orders.
I guess the question in my mind would be how long it's been there. I don't know how old this house is. Greg, can you enlighten us a little bit?
I'll take a look back here on some aerial photos and see what I can find. I can't tell you how old the shed is off the top of my head, but let me do a quick search. If you want to keep polling questions, I'll get an answer for you.
Okay, but right now, this existing house has a cesspool?
Correct. It has a cesspool that failed at Title V inspection.
So this house is at least 50 years old or something like that.
Yeah, but maybe the shed's only 5 years old.
Okay.
It's a pretty tight neighborhood for sure.
Andy?
Nope. Okay, at the back of the line here.
All right. Amy?
That septic upgrade, clearly a big improvement. Buffer zone, FEMA AE. DEP did not have any comments. Board of Health is good with it. I would say my recommendation would be to close and issue the order of conditions. And if we want to add something with respect to the shed, we can certainly do that.
So looking at the photos that Mass GIS has, The shed's been there since the 1990s, black and white photos. I can't tell you the date that it was put there, but it was
Alright,
there
well.
in the 1990s.
Dead
Well-
stays.
Yeah, no, I understand, but it also came in after the Wetlands Protection Act, you know, and it's in the 50-foot. They just got bagged now, but that's okay. All right. You want me to make a motion to close, Frankie? Or you got a question?
No, I can't see that there'd be. The other houses on that street have a shared leaching, Greg, isn't it?
The ones at the end of Bayberry Road, there's 5 houses on a shared system on Bayberry Road.
Yeah, that's Bayberry.
Most
not
of
Buttonwood.
Buttonwood is on individuals.
Okay. All right. I can't think of anything. No, it looks good. Usually a septic upgrade unless there's some real alternative, but between the ledge and the existing house, I don't see that there's a better spot here. So,
No.
yep. If you want to make a motion, Penny.
I make a motion to close an issue on 19 Buttonwood.
Do I have a second?
Andy Gallagher, second.
All in favor? So let's start again.
Richard's fine. Aye, yes, whatever.
Penny, yes.
Jen Foley, yes.
Andy
Did
Gallagher,
Frank
yes.
ask for a butters?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Is there anyone, butters or interested parties for this? Raise their hand. Thanks, Amy. Looking out in the audience with nobody here, you forget. Okay. And Frank Snow, yes.
Okay, it passed.
Okay. So on to 22 Barry's Landing. On June 15th, 2020 at 5:15 Town Hall, the Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Mass General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Alice and Barry Fiscus to build an addition on a dwelling located at 22 Barry's Landing, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend.
1.6.
Greg?
Yes. Again, for the record, Gregory Morse, registered engineer, Morse Engineering, representing the property owner Barry and Alicia Fiscus. Property is located at 22 Barry's Landing, which has frontage on the Barry's Landing cul-de-sac. To the north and to the south, the property is bordered by the North River. Developed residential properties on either side to the left and the right as you look at the plan. The property you can see is developed with an existing home with an existing driveway off of Barry's Landing. And what our proposal here is, to slightly increase by approximately 4 feet in length the deck that's on the back of the house. You'll see that there's a proposed deck extension that extends out approximately 4 feet from the existing deck. And then on the front of the house is to construct a covered entry over the front, and then to add a third bay onto the garage that you see. It involves a relocation of the driveway. We'd be removing a portion of the driveway just off screen at the bottom, and then placing new asphalt in front of the driveway, in front of the garage for access. The resources that we have at the site, we have the North River itself, which has a 200-foot riverfront area and a 300-foot protective corridor with the North River Commission. I would add that the North River Commission has already reviewed this project and approved it unanimously. The other resources we have is we have a Fema zone. You see the Fema zone delineated. It's very close to the 50-foot buffer in red. At elevation 15, we are not proposing any work in the Fema zone. All of the work is located in zone X. Also adjacent to the river is the edge of the salt marsh. The salt marsh line is in blue with a 100-foot buffer to the salt marsh in green. You'll see that it runs through essentially the front of the house. The front entryway and garage and driveway are outside of the 100-foot buffer. That deck extension would be located between the 50 and 100-foot buffer, however, to the salt marsh. I turn it over to you for questions and comments.
Penny?
The only thing that you have on the plan, Greg, 200 buffer to natural bank. Do you mean the riverfront?
Yes, so that's the language that North River Commission wants to see is 200-foot buffer from the natural bank. That's the same as the riverfront. Yeah.
Okay, I hadn't seen that before. And they're all right. Are you going to be the same bit, the same amount of it looks like there's more asphalt going down.
It does. It goes up by a little over 2,000 square feet of asphalt.
And they don't have a problem with that in the riverbank or the natural bank?
No, as long as it's outside of the 100-foot setback, which it is.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Richard?
And I would have asked the same questions Penny asked, so I'm good.
Okay. Jen?
I think I'm good.
Andy?
I'm good.
Okay. Amy?
Yeah, so, I mean, they're requesting an addition with landscaping. Actually, if I'm not incorrect, I think that this actual work that they're doing is less than what's depicted on this plan. Is that correct, Greg?
There's talk with the client about scaling back the deck extension, but I advised them to move forward with the 4-foot as it's shown. But what they want to construct is slightly smaller than what you see for the deck extension. I believe it's a set of stairs that they want to replace there.
Right. So with a riverfront project, there's a different set of performance standards that you need to take a look at. And those would include other resource areas, rare species, other substantially practicable and substantially equivalent economic alternatives, and no significant adverse impact for the project on the resources. I mean, it appears to me that the project meets the requirements of the riverfront by keeping the project outside the 100. So most of the work is in the 100 to 200 foot zone.
Yeah.
Although it is, I mean, there is quite a bit of new asphalts and impervious going in. Still does not appear to trigger the stormwater bylaw though. So I'm going to say that with the North River Commission permission in hand as well, that this is one that you could probably close.
Okay. Is there anybody in the audience to speak to this? They put their hand up. Greg, I'm just trying to figure out the driveway piece. The deck seems fairly insignificant, the bump out on the front of the house. But the existing driveway turned, I'll say to the right.
Yeah.
And then went into the end of the garage. Now it looks like maybe the garage doors are going to be facing that circle.
Correct.
And so you're removing a section of asphalt that's delineated and labeled. And then you're creating sort of a circular area or radius paving.
This is Alicia Fiskus, the homeowner. One clarification, as I'm looking at the plan, the concrete that is going up to the proposed garage extension in the front will be removed.
Concrete.
So
On the bottom.
so where it says existing bit concrete to be removed,
Yes.
Okay,
The area between that line and the garage extension will also be removed.
okay. Thank you, Alicia.
Okay.
That's helpful.
Yeah, it kind of almost evens out. Not quite, but it definitely.
Did you run that calculation, Penny?
Yes, I did. Very quickly in my little peapod brain.
All right. And then that area that where the concrete and asphalt is going to be removed, is that being replaced with grass or
Yes.
some sort of landscape?
Yeah, both, mostly grass, a little bit of landscaping just in front of the house.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. That helps a lot. Thank you. Okay, I don't have any other questions. Anybody else? I take a motion on this.
I make a motion to close an issue on 22 Berries Lane.
Seconds.
Okay, so for roll call, Richard,
Richard, I.
Penny, I.
Jen Foley, aye.
Andy Gallagher, yes.
Frank Snow, yes. Great, thank you. All right.
Nicely.
Moving along. 555 Hatherley Road. So, excuse me. On April 27th at 5:45 in the Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Sandip and Aaron Camdat to build an addition at a dwelling located at 555 Hadley Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Greg?
For the record, Gregory Morse, registered engineer, Morse Engineering, representing the property owner and applicant, Erin and Sandip Kamdar. Property is located at 555 Hatherley Road. The property itself is located in a FEMA floodplain at AE elevation 13. That is the only resource that is on this property. There's an existing home. The existing home there complies with the first floor elevation. The first floor elevation is at 15.1 for habitable space. The proposal here is to add 2 additions. There'd be an addition off the front of the house, which you see in bold on the site plan, and an addition off the back of the house, which is in bold on the site plan. In addition to those, across the front is a small porch that's labeled, and in the back, there's an existing concrete pad that would be converted to a deck. The plan specifies that flood vents would be put in for the proposed foundations in these locations. And again, the first floor elevation at 15.1 would be matched with the additions, so you're already in compliance with the FEMA requirement. DEP had no comments on this one. I did issue a revised plan today with a note on it. That note is the second note here on the site plan on the right. Our original review of the project to bring the house into full FEMA compliance would have required that the foundation, this house has a full basement under it, be filled in so that it become a free draining foundation. It's required that you bring a house into full compliance with FEMA if the project value exceeds a certain percentage of the building value itself. And since we have submitted this project, the property owner and the builder have obtained certified appraisals of the home value and looked at the values of the additions, and it's been determined by them that they do not trigger the filling in of the basement. So I've left this note, I've added this note to the plan that the building inspector, who is our FEMA coordinator in the town of Scituate, would have a chance to review for FEMA compliance the existing basement, and if required, that the basement would be filled in, although I'm pretty confident he's going to determine that it is not required at this time. Turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Greg.
Yeah.
Richard?
I, maybe just because I can't really read it, how large is the proposed addition in the front, Greg? I just might not be able to read it from the screen.
The width.
So
Not
it's
big.
approximately 10 feet by 20 feet.
And in the back as well? It's a different size, right?
Yes, in the back, I believe it's a 16-foot by 16-foot addition.
Okay, that's helpful. And on the proposed deck, it's already disturbed. It's a concrete. Am I understanding that correct?
Yes, it's an existing concrete pad area or patio. So the patio would be removed and then it would be a deck.
For the moment, that's all I've got. Thank you.
Any?
No, I don't have any problems or questions. The only question I'd have, how does this fall into FEMA? I don't even remember in 78 the water coming down there.
I think it's just an elevation.
Yeah, all right. But there was no water comes that far down.
Not yet.
I know, it's coming, it's coming.
Jen? Just outside of your neighborhood.
Yeah, it's nice to see that even though that we are remote, the banter between you two persists.
They'll never change, Jen.
It will never change.
Never.
It's good that some things in life are consistent. I don't have anything here, but except to add that Doug did join just a few minutes ago. So just so you're aware, Frank.
Hi, Doug.
Oh, great. Okay. Andy?
No, no further questions on this one.
Okay. Doug, do you want to weigh in on this?
Doug went to sleep.
Hello.
There he is.
There we go. Okay. No, I don't have.
Hey, Doug.
Hey,
He's alive.
Thanks for joining us. So you're all set on this one.
I'm good. Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody in the audience? Amy, your comments?
Right, so I don't really have many comments on this one. You know, it does trigger filing with us because of the flood zone. DP had no comments. I would say let's take a motion to close.
An issue?
Yep.
Okay.
We set, Frank?
You're ready for you, Penny.
Okay, I make a motion to close an issue.
Did we ask for butters?
I did.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
555 Hatherley Road.
Okay. I have a second
Second.
from Doug. Okay, so a roll call vote. Richard?
Yes.
Doug?
Penny, yes. Oh,
Doug,
I'm sorry.
Doug's ahead of you now that he's
Yeah,
on.
okay.
Yes.
Put in my place.
I know that's going to be tough. Jen?
Yes.
Andy?
Andy Gallagher, yes.
And Frank Snow, yes. Okay. We're cooking.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All
Now,
right.
IDA.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
So we have an RDA on June 15th, 2020 at 5:15 p.m. The Town Hall Situate Conservation Commission will act on the request of Sandy Hayes for determination of applicability of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Scituate Wetlands Bylaw for activities related to extending a driveway to the backyard at property known as 67 Jericho Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Do we have any kind of plan to put up on that one?
Well, that's a picture, but there is a plan. Well, not really.
I could show the plan that I have. I mean, it's not, not like Greg's.
Who do we have?
Yeah, there's an abutter, like a assessor's plot plan, but we felt that the aerial would give you a better view with Jericho down on the bottom of the picture.
Yeah.
And so the driveway, I think, is on the rear of the house. But Sandy, go ahead and yeah, go through what
Okay.
you want to do.
So what I want to do is I want to, in back of the house, you can see there's a inflatable back there. There's another trailer. I want to pave the backyard so that I can put the boats back in there. So, I mean, the grass is pretty dead back there. There's just weeds. It's kind of a mess. And so, you know, to get all the crap out of the side, if I can push everything back behind the house.
All right, so Jericho Road is where that car is, right?
Yes, I'm right
Okay.
across from the boat club, yacht club, tennis club.
Okay, so you want to put all this stuff, the white overhead there, in the backyard
Yes,
behind the house.
yes, to pave in the back of the house.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like a 20 by 40 area.
Backyard's like 37 by 50, 54.
37 by 54?
Yeah, that's what the backyard is. And so I wanted to try to go like 20 by 40.
Oh,
About
okay.
800 square feet.
Yeah.
Because I need the swing of trying to get the boats in there, the trailer in there, because the barge is 28 feet, and then with the trailer, you're looking at almost 35 feet.
Okay. The small building behind your house, is that on your property or your neighbor's?
No, that's on mine. That's a shed.
That's a shed.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're just going to push that back a little bit.
Yeah, so you wouldn't be bothering your neighbors with the stuff back there?
No.
No. Okay. Anyone else?
Richard?
No, no, I'm good. It's all right. I'm fine.
Doug, do you have that info?
Yeah, I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it online as well. It looks pretty tight. I would just suggest, I don't know if you've had somebody, but I would just suggest checking that rear property line before you pave it.
I have a fence going all around my property.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, so this white fence is.
Okay, yeah, I can see it on the other.
Yeah, you can see it
Yeah.
behind the shed, but it goes, it's covers my whole backyard.
Yep, I can see that now on the other plan here. Okay, thank you.
What happens to the big tree?
It's not in my yard.
It's huge.
Yeah, that big tree is in catty corner to me.
All right, so you wouldn't be disturbing the tree. Okay,
No.
good.
Anyone
trees-
else do you have?
Yeah, I do have a tree back there, but it's up against the fence and it's kind of grows sideways. And then the two that you can see, the two big ones are, neither one of those are in my property.
Okay.
Anything else, Penny?
No, I'm sorry if I.
Jen?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Andy? Okay. I'm just trying to sort this out a little, Sandy. So your driveway,
Connects with my neighbors.
okay. So when you pave this area in the back, you're going to just sort of go around the right side of the house, between the house and the fence?
Yes,
And then what's the area that you're going to pave?
it's about 20 by 40.
Okay. How close does that come to your property line?
I think you're going to end up with 8 feet from the house to the pavement, 8 feet from the fence to the pavement.
Okay, so I'm assuming that when they pave this, they're going to pitch that towards the property line or towards the shed? Do you know? You're not going to pitch that water back to your house.
No, oh, no. No, it's not coming back to the house.
So is there enough area between the pavement and the property line to absorb that water that's going to run off that?
Well, they were thinking about doing the filtration stones
Okay.
on that, and that would help some of the,
It might be a good idea just off the asphalt to have some crushed stone or something to absorb water that comes off that asphalt.
okay. I wanted all hydrangeas.
Amy, would it help to either stake this? I'm just wondering how to convey this correctly to Sandy.
Well, there's a area in the determination form that we can add language. So, I mean, that's the thing about a determination. It's not an order, so there's not going to be a mechanism for a certificate of compliance. But
Right.
we can just put a simple request, and it sounds to me like Sandy wants to work with you guys. So just, if she can add, work in somewhat of a crushed stone apron along with her hydrangeas, that would absorb the water, stop the flow. I think that would be good.
Okay.
And otherwise, my comments are that it appears to meet the requirements of a negative finding.
Sounds good. Anybody else? Anybody, audience?
I'll make a motion for -3.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, -3 with the comments we made, right, Penny?
Yes.
Let's
Roll
explain
call.
to Sandy that a negative is actually a good thing.
A negative determination is a good.
Mhm.
Okay.
I read the instructions on that. Thank you.
Good girl, good girl.
Do we need a
Yay.
roll call vote on this one as well?
Yep.
Okay. So Richard,
Richard, aye.
Doug,
Aye.
Penny,
Aye.
Jen,
Aye.
and Andy.
Yes.
Frank Snow, yes. Okay.
You're all set.
Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you.
So now, what do we have left here?
50 minutes.
Oh, that FEMA regulation too. I don't understand that, but
Lost my paper here for a second. Bear with me.
Number 6 is approval of draft minutes.
So I'm looking for an approval of draft minutes for March 2nd, April 27th, and June 1st.
yep, so moved. Somebody second?
Andy.
Second.
That was Jen Foley.
Yeah.
So do we need a roll call on this?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Richard,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Penny,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
Frank Snow, yes.
Okay.
Okay. We need to, under new business, a union adopt the Scituate wetlands regulation. And due to COVID-19, I'm going to read the statement about this regulation. Since FEMA retracted them. So,
It's in your folder.
yeah, so we're going back on June 15, 2020, at the 5:15 meeting at Scituate Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission requests a public hearing on a proposed amend the rule and regulations under section 30700, Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws, the Wetlands Bylaw, and the Conservation Commission will vote on whether to amend the wetlands regulations to define the floodplain district using the effective FEMA maps rather than the pending maps which have been rescinded by FEMA. This is necessary in order to remain in the National Flood Insurance Program and the Community Rating System. the rules and regulations, and the proposed revisions are available for viewing at the Town Hall of Scituate website, www.scituatema.gov. So,
Okay, so this is strange. Like, yeah.
so one of our early meetings, we actually voted to adopt the FEMA maps, and then FEMA
I don't remember that.
withdrew that. I think that was like the major reason we had that first meeting.
Right, and so what it is that these revised map panels affected like 32 communities on the South Shore and on the Cape, and all but 2 communities required a town meeting vote because the FEMA regs are embedded in their zoning bylaw. So, and you can only make zoning bylaw changes with a town meeting vote. And since the COVID pandemic altered most spring town meeting dates, FEMA just decided to postpone the regulation. So we had already passed it to come in compliance with the July date. And now, so they reached out to us and they said, you have to undo that and go back to the 2016 panels that were in effect, because these new ones are not going to go into effect after all. So we're unadopting what we had done. And you just need to take a vote. There's not much discussion, honestly.
Okay. So I guess I've kind of already made the motion.
So moved.
And we have a second?
Second.
That was Doug. So again, a roll call vote. Richard?
Right.
Doug?
Aye.
Penny?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Frank, yes. Well, that's good. We got that squared away. Anybody else? So I got an email from town council that we've actually passed papers on the Maxwell Muncie piece of property that's been recorded, and now we have all that property along Bates Lane under the Conservation Commission. So,
Yay, now we have
That's
to get a
great.
CR on it.
there you go, Penny. There's something to do.
Yay!
Anybody else would be not looking forward to that.
No. I'm just so happy to finally have it over and done with. We own all that stuff up there. Maxwell's gonna turn over the few CRs they have to wildlands, and everything will be all buttoned up, and then we'll just move slowly if we purchase any more properties. So I'm very excited. Hallelujah.
There we go.
Yep, I'm coming.
Well, it is good news that it's been a long time coming.
Oh,
It ties
very long
into
time.
the other work that we've been doing there. So,
Oh.
any,
Just before we adjourn, I just wanted to bring up that there is a small queue of C of Cs, which we're going to issue. Now that we've got the registry and DEP signatures down, hopefully that will go smoothly when they go to recording. But there are closings that are happening, and a lot of them are septic systems and old projects. So just a handful that we're going to get out the door of straightforward requests for CFCs. So I just want to let you know that. And other than that, I think that we can adjourn roll call.
Amy, quick question.
Yes,
Sure.
Are we still meeting on Webster Street tomorrow?
correct. Yes, 3 p.m.,
this is on Webster Street.
24. Mhm.
24 Webster.
All right. And our next
Down.
commission meeting, we're still going to stay with our scheduled one for the 6th.
Our next meeting is on July 6th, correct?
Okay.
Don't forget town meeting, everybody.
Town
That's-
meeting June 27th, Saturday.
9 a.m.
Bells on.
umbrella
Okay.
in
Would
hand.
anybody else want to comment on anything before we sign off?
No, I don't think so. I think I'm all set.
I appreciate everybody working with all this and your effort during these times. And I really appreciate Jen and Amy pulling all this together because I'm no help.
Yep, that's true.
Well, thanks so much.
Good job, Frank. Good
Yeah.
job. Amy has
Thank you.
kids at home too, so it's been trying, I'm sure, for her.
Jen.
Young ones. Jen.
Yeah, Jen. I don't have the young ones.
No, you don't. No,
Not
you
yet.
So I guess I need a motion to
I
adjourn,
make the
right?
motion to adjourn.
All right, and second on that?
Second.
Okay. And I guess we have to vote it.
You got to vote.
Richard,
Richard, I.
Doug,
Yes.
Penny,
Yes. Bye-bye.
Jen,
Yes.
Jen, Andy,
Yes.
Frank, yes. Thanks so much.
Oh,
All right. So recording over.
Not yet, not yet, not yet.
Oh, here's Seth, the
Turn
man
this on,
behind
Seth,
the
before we
madness.
get in trouble.
I like the after effect, you know, I keep those for my records.
Oh, can we do like a display of fireworks at the end?
All right, my
Hallelujah.
friend, let's see here.
Let's do that.